Welcome to this week's Fireside Chat with Jesse. I am joined today by Jen Fanz, National Sales Manager of Healthcare for PEAC Solutions. Thanks for joining me, Jen.
Jesse, it is so great to be here. How are you today?
I am great, thanks. I was so excited I got your name correct on the first time. I messed up. I was yeah, this title, and then I'm like, okay, let's dial it back here a little bit.
Nah, you crushed it. Good
job. yeah, way to have to mess up the intro, dude. But appreciate your time this afternoon, Jen. And for those people who might not be familiar with yourself, do you mind just giving a little introduction in your career to date in equipment finance?
Oh man, do you have a while? Yeah, we have a little bit of time, right?
we got some time.
This journey started back in 1997. So out of college, I randomly started with Capelco Capital, not knowing what equipment leasing and finance was even all about. I didn't even know what it was. I just knew they were going to give me a job, and that was pretty cool. So I started there in 97. I was there for 3 years. I jumped over the bridge. For those of you familiar with the East Coast, I went from Jersey over to the PA side and started with DLL in 2000. I was with them for a long run, and they were foundational in my growth. And I was with them for 22 years, held a variety of roles from sales to program management to sales management to, my last role as a country sales manager. And then I took a little sidestep outside of the industry over this past year, which was fabulous. But I realized very quickly that this is where my heart is. So came back into the industry exactly 30 days ago and started with PEAC Solutions.
Well, perfect. Yeah, I've at one point in time when I was leaving OSG, I got in the industry in 2005 and my first job was there, and there was an opportunity to step outside. But after 6 years, I was like, I don't know. So while I was tempted, I couldn't quite pull that trigger. And
yeah,
I'm still here 18 years later. So yeah.
For a minute before, coming up through my career, I think there were moments in time where I thought, I can't really do anything but leasing. I don't know how to do anything else. That is not true. And for those of, everyone that's watching this, know that you can definitely do more because our skills are very transferable.
Sure.
But at the same time, it's an amazing industry with wonderful people. And what we are able to do for customers and each other is something that, to me, just can't be compared to. So that's why I'm back.
Well, perfect. And, leasing is like the equivalent of the Hotel California, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Right.
It's just kind of keeps you there, and the friends that you have in the industry, those relationships, it's not just in one organization. They can, anywhere you go, they follow, which is fantastic.
So solid. You and I met formally for the first time at the ELFA National Convention 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And exactly right. I've been blessed to be able to participate in things larger industry with the ELFA, which has allowed me to cast a much wider net and meet so many people. And that is really what I talk about when I talk about, this industry. It's the people. And it's the people that you work with day to day, but it's also the people that you can rely on industry-wide. So
no, same page. So when you decided it was time to get back in equipment finance, let's talk PEAC if you don't mind.
Sure, I would love to talk PEAC.
What drew you to PEAC Solutions?
So, you're never really totally out of the industry, because even when you are, I was very interested in what was going on inside the industry. I follow a lot of things on LinkedIn, and I saw the transition that was happening from Marlin to PEAC, and was following certain people, saw the excitement posted online. And when I thought about coming back into the industry, I thought, well, where could I possibly add the most value? And so knowing that PEAC is at a point where we're on the upslope, and there's work to be done, but the sky's the limit. I thought, well, wow, isn't that exciting? That might be really fun. So that is what first drew me to the company. And then when I started to speak with individuals that worked here, foundational players, the leadership team, I thought, yep, that's exactly where I need to be.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I had Tom on here, I think like 7 or 8 months ago. I've known him for a few years, and I've known Bill, I think, since I got in the industry.
Right.
So they definitely got the two right people there. So when you mentioned you were going to PEAC, I'm like, fantastic.
Yeah.
A little interesting part about like Marlin, well, now PEAC,
Mm-hmm.
was in my previous 3 organizations, I always had Marlin as a customer.
Wow.
So, no pressure to Tom, but we're gonna have to figure something out with this new gig I have. So
I already talked you up a little bit earlier today, but obviously he knows you.
And another thing is DLL,
Yeah.
AgriCredit was my first ever sale in equipment finance in March of 2006.
Wow. Yeah.
So full circle, right?
It
Here,
is full
sort of,
circle.
kind of.
So as big as this industry is, it's not that big.
No. It's really not, especially when you talk to other people that are in all these other things, and it's like, oh yeah, we went to a trade show where there was like 20,000 people, and it's like, that sounds terrible.
Right. Oh my God.
That sounds awful.
I know.
So 30 days in.
30 days. Yeah.
What are your thoughts after 30 days?
Excitement.
Okay.
So I mentioned already the people that are here and have been here before the transition, post the transition. Amazing team that's in these 4 walls. And what we are able to bring to our customers, the concierge type service that we are willing to provide, this is not one size fits all. And that's just really refreshing for me. So I haven't heard no a lot. I've heard let's talk about it with a lot of great minds that have been in this industry for quite some time. So there is a legacy here that we're building on. There are some, as I said, foundational things that Marlin brought to the table. And now that we are PEAC, we're expanding them. And we have the leadership team to really make it a fun place to be.
That's great. And I love the way that the Bill and Tom and the whole team there branded the organization. When I was at your office in September, pre you joining them,
Yeah.
Was at 300 Fellowship Road,
Yeah.
been there several times. And, just the buzz around the office. I mean, because you guys are still hybrid. I mean, at that point, still hybrid at that point in time, but everything was like newer. I think one of the sides of the building was completely brand new. It was built during the pandemic. But just beautiful space, and the people that were there are very enthusiastic about what you guys are building. Jen.
Beautiful space, and yes, still hybrid. Certain teams come in different days, but there's a buzz. And I have to admit, being back in an office and seeing people and talking to people to their faces, actually shaking a hand, maybe even having a cup of coffee. It's just a novel idea. It's amazing.
As long as you don't say you spoke at the water cooler, because that doesn't exist anymore, right?
Oh, no,
Can't have a
coffee.
communal water
cooler.
Yeah. So, being there 30 days, I know something that was you were extremely passionate about at DLL, and you still are as an individual, is culture. And, the human aspect, or our human capital that we have. Why is that so important to you, Jen?
Because without people, you have nothing. So if you don't figure out how to interact with people and take people's needs into account first, you're never going to figure it out at all. You're just not going to be successful. And that goes personally, that goes professionally. So to me, what I am able to contribute here is, I'm so concerned with the next generation. right? I've been so fortunate over my career to have certain people that believed in me before it was cool, right? As a woman, right? Seriously, before,
Yeah, no, fair.
right?
That's
But
fair.
they did. And I had people that spoke my name when I wasn't in the room. And I had people that put me forward for opportunities. And, you know, when you think about what we as equipment leasing and finance professionals, right, legacy people can do now for the next generation is to make sure that we're doing that, right? We want our leaders to step up. We want to create new leaders. And there's a million, sayings out there like you're a great leader
Sure.
when you help other people become
Sure.
great leaders. And that's what I think is important. And tied to that is this idea of diverse leaders, different thought processes, different ideas, different opinions. We can't all be the same because then we wouldn't get anywhere. So, human is at the center of everything. And the more that we are human and let people see that we are human, the easier it is to connect and then get things done.
Yeah, I know it's not necessarily, because there has to be some aspect of vulnerability in there too, right? To have that human connection and everything. And that's not necessarily easy for leaders to open up.
Yeah.
But once you kind of do, I think it breaks down some barriers where people naturally feel more comfortable.
Who's
Just in the
perfect?
environment.
There's nobody.
Well, I mean,
that
I would say I am, but look, as you can tell, I've had gray hair for some times. I'm wearing some glasses, could shed a few pounds, but at the end of the day,
nobody's perfect, Jesse. You are close. You are close.
No, far from.
So let's talk about. I'm going to turn the tables real quick, and
Okay.
I want to talk about Equipment Finance Cares because you get the human side of business, right? So, what you are doing with Equipment Finance Cares is exactly what I'm talking about. Bringing the human side to this industry and really focusing on the people because it's the people that make the magic happen. And that's all people, not just some people.
No, and you were spot on. And when I was transitioning to my last company, I thought it was all about customer centricity because that was a big buzzword, right? Where it's like, do what it takes to make the customer happy. Happy customer will make you profitable long term. But at the end of the day, if the human capital that touches that customer is not in a good spot, both professionally, mentally, financially, then what is that really going to do to that customer relationship? And that was something that meant a lot to me. And as we get into these EFC events and we're talking about mental health, the next generation of people, what are we doing to foster the environment? How are we growing and retaining people? Yeah, spot on. And thanks for the plug for EFC, even though it's a big old thing back here. It's kind of.
I love it. Why do you think I chose this route? Right?
No, I get it. I get it. And I'm not going to tell Tom it was spelled wrong. So. She's like, wait, what?
Wait, was it? No, it's perfect.
No. So, being in the office and being remote, how do you see some of this culture, when you're were probably previously just all remote, like any best practices in what you found through the pandemic, Jen?
Yeah, sure. So, in the beginning, it was hard. I don't think anyone was ready. I know I wasn't. And so when we went fully remote, I tease with my family all the time. Like I used to have an hour and 10-minute commute, which was not good, right? I mean, I became accustomed to it, but it was tough.
I was gonna say that's minor in the Philadelphia suburbs. I mean, people drive up from Virginia, don't they? I mean, It's amazing the road warriors that you have in southern Jersey and the Philadelphia suburbs.
It's true. It's true. But still, an hour and 10 for me could easily turn into 2 hours based upon traffic. So that was on a good day, no traffic. However, 8 steps from the basement up to the kitchen wasn't near long enough. So I was still in Jen work mode, and then I needed to be mom, and I hadn't decompressed yet. So personally speaking, this is just one person's opinion. I think it's different, right, for everybody. But for me, balance, right? And I don't know that anything is ever really balanced, but being given the autonomy to decide what is good for me, of course, being available and in an office when you need to be, or to create camaraderie, or to meet people, or to have meetings 100%, but still having that availability to work from your home office when my daughter has an orthodontist appointment, or I need to do something for my aging mother. That makes all the difference in the world. So to me, it starts with trust, right?
Yeah.
You work with people, or you work for people who trust you. And you build that trust because they know that you're going to get the job done regardless of where you are in the world. But knowing also that there is a time and a place for human in-person interaction, hence the reason I come into the office a couple of days a week now. I like it.
No, and that's a good point. I mean, I've been remote since 2011, when I at that point joined Lease Team, or LTI. So I've been remote for the last 11 years. What the pandemic did for me as a sales, and I've always been on the business development side.
Yeah.
So, typically it's like, salespeople, are you really working? Are you not working? You're out golfing. And it's like, whatever. With more people having easier access to work from home, I found myself working more because people were
100%
more answering.
Yes, 100%. And I still do it. I was just saying earlier to a friend here, I'm asynchronous. So when I sit down at night after we've had dinner, and when I'm sitting on the couch and I have a moment, I don't mind picking up my phone and responding to a couple emails, right? I don't mind sending a hey, how are you doing out to a new prospect, because I'm comfortable. I'm in a good headspace, right? That's what this flexibility allows us to do. It allows us all to be in a decent headspace, because personal life doesn't stop, right? It never goes away, and it's constant. No. And now with these things that never stop, and this thing, I don't even know why I wear it, right? So there's notifications, there's beeps, there's calls, there's Teams going off, there's chats going off. It's just constant. So in order for me to stay centered, I just need a little runway to be able to do that. As long as I know that my family's good and that I'm good, right? That I've had time to focus on me a little bit. I can jump back on 7:30, 8 o'clock at night and get a couple things done, and it's fine. And I think that's what I definitely learned about my team as well. I was always of the mind when I had a team that as long as they got the job done and their customers were happy, I had no problem where they were doing their business. And I still am of that mindset, but I think the pandemic opened a lot of people's eyes to that notion, that we don't have to be sitting in a chair in an office 8 to 5 every single day. We definitely can take care of things on the fly.
No, but it's also one of those things where you try to protect people too. So the team that I was managing in my previous organization, just before I go to bed, I can't help it too. I always like to poke around, or I write what I need to accomplish the next day. If I look at Teams and see that people are working late and I'm 2 to 3 hours behind the East Coast, being in Arizona, when I see people online at 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, I'm like, hey, what's going on? Everything okay?
Everything all right.
And then they're like, well, I'm doing this thing here. And I might not necessarily be able to help them do it, but I would get on video and maybe just sit there and just interact with them if it was something that they were doing for a customer. And I'm like, oh, and by the way, I'm like, you better not go to the office tomorrow until like the afternoon, because you're going above and beyond. And they seem to, because I can't put my hands on a keyboard and fix anything that they're doing. I don't have the mental capacity to do that. Well, maybe I do, but maybe I just don't have the, whatever.
But Jesse,
there's only so much I got, Jen. There's only so much.
I got that right. Same. I'm right there with you. only so much. But in all seriousness, you get it, right? You get it. Being present as a leader, just letting people know that you see them, that maybe you don't necessarily understand what they're going through, but you can empathize and just let them know that you care. I've just learned over the years that makes a world of difference.
No, I agree. I mean, I got into a habit where I was pretty focused, and then I selfishly went on vacation for a couple of weeks, and then I got back, and now I made a mistake last night and looked at my calendar today. I was up at 2:30 this morning and couldn't fall back asleep because I was looking at my calendar, and I've been going since like 3. So it's like, yeah.
And we all have those days, right? I know we all have those days, and not every day is going to be ideal, but if you know that people are in the boat with you, right? And if you know that you got people that are rowing in the same direction as you, and if you know that someone like you is reaching out when you see someone online late at night and just saying, hey, are you good? Are you good? Do you need anything? And majority of the time, the answer is going to be no, but just to know that someone wants to know if you're good. I don't know. It's kind of small, but it's not. It's really big.
No, it goes a long way. I mean, you mentioned empathy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not sympathizing that someone's working late. You're actually showing that you care, which is what leaders should be. So, or I guess what leaders should be practicing.
I agree.
One of the things I wanted to talk about was I want to say what was this, the fourth issue of Monitor's Top Women in Leasing? Is this the fourth?
This past one I think was fourth. Yeah, fourth or third.
And you were you in the first one?
I was in the second one.
Okay, well, you know what? I didn't make the first 40 under 40. So, I had to wait till I was 39, flirting with 40 before I got it. So I get it. Yeah. But, I wanted to talk about, what did that designation mean to you, Jen? Because I could think of probably 50 ladies that have been through DLL that I could probably nominate for that award just within the walls of the company that you worked with at the time.
100%. So stellar, unbelievable ladies that I've had the pleasure to work with and call friends. 100%. When I heard it, I don't even know what I was. I was humbled and excited and a little nervous, because to me that was a really big designation. And when I thought about it, I thought, all right, get over yourself, number one. There's nothing to be scared about. It's really about what you do with it, right? So what do you do with it? It's great to be given an award like that and be recognized, but then what do you do with it? And so I thought, well, no stopping now. So yeah, right. Let's just keep doing what we can do for other ladies. And I started with ELFA. I owe so much to that organization. I really do. I started with ELFA on the Emerging Talent Advisory Council. And that was funny. Everyone used to joke because I was 40 at the time. And they were like, really? Emerging talent?
You know what? I never understood that, because I was on the Service Provider Council for 4 years, and there was ETAC, and I think I got on there when I was 35.
Yeah.
And they're like emerging talent. And I was never on ETAC, by the way.
Right.
But I was just like, they're just like, oh yeah, emerging talent. And I'm like, you're older than I am. I'm like, did I just never emerge?
No, it wasn't.
No, that was a joke though. It's like,
right.
I'm like, I guess I haven't emerged yet.
Back then, when you looked at the industry looked very the same. So
40 is still young.
It's the new 30. So I started on ETAC, and then after ETAC, I was blessed to be able to transition onto the Women's Council. And I have been on the Women's Council since then, and I chaired it last year. And I'm outgoing chair this year under the direction of Michelle Speranza with Leaf. And Amy Vogt, I have to give a shout out to her because she's just fantastic. And when I got that designation, circling back, I thought, let's just keep it going. Let's keep pulling and pushing the necessary leaders that we need to help get to that next level, right? I want to use my voice for good, and I want to do things within the industry similar to what you're doing to make sure that everyone is afforded the same opportunities and has the ability to share their ideas and find their voices, and have an impact. So that's kind of what I thought when I got the designation. I thought, very cool, very proud, love it, but this means I'm not going to stop.
No, and that's fantastic. And this is after, now it's a cool thing to do, right? Right now, yeah. DEI is a cool buzzword, right?
Oh yeah, really cool now.
Before it wasn't cool. Now it's officially cool.
It's very cool, and it should stay cool forever. But we were before.
Yeah, absolutely. And and I appreciate some of the EFC accolades you've given me, but that's where, being at that, I wasn't at the women's forum in Chicago this year. I was there, but I didn't attend, but I went to the People Power networking event and got to listen to you talk and everything else. And with EFC helping continue to spread that message at our regional events, is powerful.
Well, you are 100%. Allow me to personally invite you to this year's forum, which is back in Chicago in April.
Okay.
And it's about bringing your whole self, right? That's the theme that we're working on this year. And it's going to be amazing. And we always need allies.
Perfect. Well, you'll have to let me know the dates on that one, and I'll check it out for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, while we're kind of, on the ELFA, do you remember the first event you went to?
I do. Clearly.
What was it?
It was an annual convention.
Okay.
Probably in 2014.
Okay.
I think 14 or 15. And I felt so uncomfortable and so out of place. And I didn't know what to do. And I was happy to be there. Don't get me wrong. I was thrilled to be there until I got there. Because then I was like, what do I do? Why am I here? I don't know anybody. I don't see many people that look like me at all. And I don't even know who to talk to. And at the time in 14, which was only 8 years ago, I still thought I was a kid. I don't know. There are days today where I still feel like I'm a kid, but I was like, right? I don't know that ever goes away. And I remember being in this room full of, let's just say, stuffy looking individuals. And I thought, man, how do I break through this? How is anyone ever going to take me seriously in this space? And so I could have done two things, right? I could have turned around, walked out, freaked out, said I'm never going back, or I could have stayed, which I did. And then that's when, the ETAC opportunity became available. And I actually have Bill to thank for that. Bill.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Bill was integral in, actually, Amy Nelson was integral in me getting on to that, because Amy spoke to Bill about putting me forward.
It's awesome.
And that's how it all started.
And yeah, I mean, because going to those conventions is almost like a badge of honor, especially when you look at an organization like a DLL. I mean, they could probably send 40 people that are deserving of going, but I mean, it costs a solid at minimum $5,000 to send someone to those events, maybe even closer to 10 when you factor everything in. So it's like, how do you?
Yes.
I mean, I've been fortunate where I went to my first convention when I was 23.
Oh wow.
So you talk about, like, and I was by myself in my company. It was that Hurricane Wilma.
Yeah.
I lucked out because instead of 1,200 people, there was only 500, and everyone got really close at that convention because they survived whatever was going on. There's people fighting over gas, and we're fighting over shrimp cocktails, right? Put life in perspective.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
we have to eat all this food and drink all these drinks before it gets, I'm like, okay, 2 years out of
Okay,
college, let's
twist
go.
my arm.
But yeah, I mean, I've always been on the business development side, so I've been fortunate where I don't think I've missed any of them in my career. And that's another thing that we try doing with some of these EFC things is giving these regional events where they're closer to home. They don't have quite that cost, but yet you can go and have meaningful networking opportunities.
We've
I
done
don't know
that.
how I don't know how I shamelessly just turned that into a plug for EFC, but
It's all right.
we'll
It's all
take it.
good. If they're all
We'll
good
take it.
things, right? We're telling people about the regional things that they can get involved in the industry, because the Women's Council does that
Exactly.
too. We always build off of existing events that are happening around the country, and then we'll add like a women's reception to those events, which allows people locally to join industry events who might not necessarily, whether it's business reasons or personal reasons, be able to get
Sure.
to things like the annual convention. So that is, opportunity that leaders in the industry need to facilitate for upcoming leaders, right? It all makes sense.
Yeah, I'm still a little still trying to figure out the whole like next generational talent. I mean, you're starting to see some of these people show up to conferences and everything else, but it's not at that rate that I was expecting 17 years plus into this industry.
Yeah. Well, we also have to invest in them, right? So it's one thing to say that we're open to them, but it's another thing to take action and make sure that we are investing in them. And so that's what all this is about too, is making sure that we at our age are pulling and pushing people and investing in them, right? People saw talent in me that I didn't see. I remember back in my Capelco days, very early, probably could have been career suicide. I came out of college. I was an account rep, right? Sales support, if you will. I became a manager pretty quickly. I hated it. But by the way, my degree was in management, but I hated every ounce of it because I was a kid that now had people on my team that were older than me, and they hated me and I hated it. And I remember going to the man that ran our group at the time, and I said, just demote me. Like, I don't want to do this. Who does that? And he looked at me and he went, I'm sorry. And I said, I can't do this. Like, this isn't fun. I don't want to be a manager. I said, I think I want to go into credit. I said, I think I want to be a credit analyst. This is a 100% true story. And he looked at me and very nicely and very tactfully, he said, Jennifer, you're not going into credit. Give me a minute. We're going to put you into sales. So having people that see something in you, see that spark or see that quality, and be willing to take that chance on you, that's what we as leaders now need to do for that next generation.
No, that is spot on. That is spot on. All right, so I'm gonna make sure I send all the younger people to Jen.
That's all right.
She will make sure that they stay here.
I love chatting with people. I have no problem telling my story, the ups and the downs.
So I ask everyone who I have on here, Jen, to give me a little fun fact about themselves. Now, I don't know if you can, upstage Tom and his scuba diving photo that's all over the world.
I can't.
I mean, someone superimposes me in something, it's more embarrassing. You put something and it's in magazines. So, anything you'd like to share with the audience here?
I think this is fun. And to me, I think you've already mentioned it. I know you have, about full circle. So when I started my career 25 years ago, I started in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And I started in Mount Laurel, New Jersey at Capelco Capital because post-graduation from Rutgers, I laid on my mom's floor and I circled ads in the newspaper, totally dating myself, and sent resumes out trying to get a job, just needed a job. And so by luck, and I will say by luck, I fell into this industry in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And I've gone a couple places since then. And here I am back in Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And I think that's pretty cool.
I didn't realize you went to Rutgers. I guess I should have done some research there.
I did.
Yeah, I went to West Virginia, so we played Rutgers. It really wasn't competitive at the time,
No.
but I always picked on I lived in Jersey for 6 years before I moved to Arizona.
Yep.
So I would always pick on people where they're like, "Oh, Rutgers football, keep chopping wood." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?"
So, yeah. So I'm definitely, I don't have the cool picture story. You don't really, there's nothing you can really flash.
No, that's
like a scuba.
Well, I can flash something, but nah. Let's keep this above board. We're good. We're good. Kind of in closing here, Jen. At the end of the day, why should someone want to do business with Jen Fanz and PEAC Solutions?
Because we're putting the customer first. I will never go to a customer and say, this is what PEAC Solutions is, and this is what PEAC Solutions does, and these are all the awesome things about PEAC Solutions. I will go to a customer and I will say, what do you need? And then I'll listen. And when I start to hear their pain points, that's when I know what I will be able to suggest that PEAC Solutions can already do. And then I will also be able to have the conversations internally to create the things that we don't already do, but what our customers need. And that's why I say PEAC Solutions, because we're not inside a box. We can do things, we can change things, we can be the things that our customers need. And to me, that's pretty awesome.
Perfect explanation. I see it. I'm excited. Like I said, I was happy when I found out where you were going, and excited to see what the next 3 months, the next 30 days, 3 months, 3 years, and etc. brings to Jen at PEAC.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Let's go. I just need to work on. I saw that the little commercial that they had, and Stevenson had the "We Are PEAC" shirt, and I'm like, how do I get some of that swag?
I'll work on it for you.
It's better than this Papa Bear mug that I'm drinking coffee out of now. I mean, come on, it's merchandising opportunity. I don't know.
Ready? How about we trade? If the next EFC event, I will be there.
Okay.
You give me a little EFC swag, and I'll give you some swag.
Perfect.
All right.
Sounds great, Jen. Deal. Well, appreciate your time this afternoon. And I'm sure we'll be in touch before the next EFC event. But once again, I appreciate your time.
I just want to thank you. This was so fun. I know this was a bit of a long time coming, but I'm so grateful to you that I had the opportunity to spend time with you today. It's been fun.
Perfect. Thank you, Jen. Talk soon.
Bye, Jesse.
Bye.